It's 8:34. Good morning. Great to have you here on a Friday on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So last hour, we got some inflation numbers. Consumer Price Index for January, up 2.4% from the same time last year, down 0.3% from the prior month, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So that pulled the inflation rate down to where it was the month after President Trump announced aggressive tariffs on U.S. imports. So what do we make of this as the inflation number came in at a pretty solid number? You want to be at about 2%. That's the Fed's target, but 2.4 is pretty darn good based on where we've been the last few years. Mark Falter, Retirement Income Hour, joining us on KCMO. You hear him Saturday and Sunday mornings at 9, also now Saturdays at 7 a.m. Mark, your reaction to the inflation report last hour?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Pete. Yeah, right now the data is kind of saying the economy is actually stable. The markets aren't up much this year at all, but if people are working and spending continues, that's kind of more or less the backbone. Employment actually is a lagging indicator. It tells us where we've been, not necessarily where we're headed. But ultimately, what does have me somewhat concerned is how long is Trump going to play this tariff game, and is it going to eventually start really slowing things down? Because, things are getting expensive. If you sit down and look at the cost of things going up for the average person, it is expensive, and it's getting more expensive.
Well, why are we not seeing that then with the inflation number coming in at 2.4?
Well, with the inflation numbers, again, it's not a huge increase. I think you're going to start seeing the tariffs really start taking effect in the inflation numbers here in the next several months, because my goodness, at the rate that he's charging some of these countries to get things in here, I'm not saying it's a bad play, but what concerns me, if you go back, it wasn't the only thing that caused the Depression back in the 1920s, but it was a catalyst that did it. Tariffs back then. So it's.
Are you saying then that basically right now we've known this has been going on for now? The companies that are importing to the U.S. are taking the hit, but they're not going to take the hit forever. So the question is, when do they start passing that cost on to the customer in America?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying. I think you're going to see inflation. I think it's a possibility we could start seeing inflation really come unglued potentially if these tariffs go too long. Tariffs have been through history a temporary solution. You don't want to overuse them, so to speak. This has been going on quite a while now.
Now, but he'll say, and listen, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here. I've questioned him, and I've kind of been waiting to see how all this plays out, which is kind of what you're saying here. But obviously, the president's, he loves these things. He loved them for 35 years before he was ever in, thinking about politics. He's saying, look at all the money we're bringing to the Treasury. This is great. This is fantastic. We're going to give out tariff dividend checks. You're not buying any of that, it sounds like.
Well, no. Actually, if it would turn the corner and start realistically lowering taxes, and we would start seeing that come back in, I think that would be a game changer. I'll tell you what, you ask any retiree right now, what's the possibility you think taxes going up? And every one of them does. What I'm seeing so far is we had a $34 trillion deficit that we added $4 trillion to with the big, beautiful bill. And again, not saying the big, beautiful bill is bad. It's really, really, really helping retirees. But it is not going to come free. I mean, eventually this has got to get paid down. Now, if we could turn some of that tariff money to paying down this debt and literally see it happen, that would be a game changer, which I guess is ultimately his plan. Maybe I'm just being impatient,
Well, here's the thing, though. When you're talking about $38 trillion, I mean, a couple $100 billion or whatever the number isn't going to make a huge dent, but we still have a spending problem. I mean, until that gets under control, it doesn't really matter, it seems like to me, how much money you're bringing in from tariffs. So what about the jobs report? Let's talk about that. That came out, and the payrolls came in up 130,000 last month, double what the estimates were. And, they've shed hundreds of thousands of government jobs since October. I think it's 327,000 government jobs have been shed since just late last fall, and you've seen the private sector increase in those jobs numbers way beyond expectations. How do you read into that for the economy?
I think right now, again, the economy it's kind of stable. People overall are working, and I think the unemployment rate is up a little bit, but it's overall still not that high. What shocks me is how long we can go without these government jobs, and it's been a big reduction in a lot of major areas. But I could paint a picture on the markets going down. I could paint a picture on the markets going up. I will say, if somebody had me say pick one, I think we have a better chance of things going down right now. Depends on how far the AI spending takes us.
Yeah, well, but you're saying that the economy can't survive without these government jobs? I mean, Biden blew up the government jobs every month for 4 years. I think we're going to survive just fine. What's the evidence to suggest that we won't?
Yeah. I think it just goes to show us how overinflated that got,
Yeah.
And
we just want to get it back
really
to like
did.
we just want to get to numbers, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm not saying you destroy every federal job. It's just, hey, it was every month you and I would look at these jobs numbers, and the government was a top 3 employer based on jobs gains, right? So if we just shed those and get back to a regular level of federal jobs, isn't that healthier for the economy? Because you need the private sector to power the public sector.
Yeah, ultimately, that's exactly right. We need the private sector really to do that. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So now the markets. Let's get into that as, we're sitting here early in the new year. We topped 50,000 on the Dow for the first time ever last Friday. What do you think's going on? Is there too much exuberance out there in the markets, or is this just, hey, Trump said he wants 100,000 Dow in the next 4 years, Mark? I mean, I'm not buying that, but he's throwing the numbers out there. So where are we going here?
That's funny. I think it's a lot AI driven. It's predominantly AI driven. The spending going into AI, and is that going to continue? I am still of the belief that we will see a pullback in that area. How far and how long, I hate to predict, but I think it is mirroring 1999 with the .com, and it's a lot of new infrastructure. Everybody racing to be the first and the biggest and the most current and all that stuff. But I think you're going to see several large companies succeed through this, like NVIDIA and so forth. But then there's going to be several that don't. And I think even all of the AI stock, eventually you're going to see a pullback here.
All right.
Well, but ultimately, that's what's driving the market up.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's got this thing still on fire. And interest rates, they budging or no?
I think we could see a little bit of a downturn. In other words, they could take them down slightly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Mark, we always appreciate your insight. It's going to be a fascinating few months ahead, and we'll be talking to you here on KCMO and listening tomorrow morning.
Alrighty, sir. Thanks. See ya.
There you go. Mark Falter, Retirement Income Hour, Saturday and Sunday mornings at 9. Also now Saturday morning at 7 o'clock here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. Always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app.